Our next discussion is on district level preservation programs. My dear friend Tracy is here. She's going to talk to us about what Kentucky is doing with their district level preservation programs. So Tracy Nowaczyk. Yeah, let's hear it.
I'm going to start my presentation with my most important point. If you're from Kentucky, please stand up. So my point there is that I'm up here giving this presentation because I happen to be the person that reorganized our program and put a couple requirements on it. But really, the program is there. Those people know way more about this program than I do. So if you have questions about our program and all of the things we're doing, talk to them, because they are the brains of the program and the guts of the program as well. I'll just start out a little bit with the history of our program. We started around 2007. We did a couple asphalt thin-lay projects, a couple demo projects. Between 2008 and 2011, we did a couple demo micro projects. A little interesting fact about this period of time, around 2011, at this point at KYTC, we are spending historical amounts on pavements. A lot of money is being spent on pavement, but our system condition is getting worse, because we're really good at this point in time in spending money, but we're not good at making investments. In 2014, so the different colors on this graph represent the different types of treatments we're doing. From 2007 to about 2014, we're doing mainly asphalt thin-lay and microsurface. We put down those demo sections. None of the pavement blew up. It all seemed to be performing well, so we expanded our program. Expanding the program is really difficult because between 2007 and between 2014, all of the decisions and all of the program is being carried out by central office. So there are about 4 to 5 people working on this program, selecting all the projects, going out to look at them a little bit, and that's not a responsible way to grow the program. In order to grow the program, we have to push all that knowledge out. We have to have the districts understand the treatments, the project selection, the inspection techniques. All of that has to go out because we can't grow the program with 5 people having all of the knowledge. So in 2014, we founded the Preventive Maintenance Alliance. So what that is just a group. It's an agreement between central office and our district staff to work on this program together and to guide this program together. In 2015, we start adding a bunch of additional treatments to the program, and you can see last year we let over 30 million in projects. That's an important number to me because that's the number that I recommended. It's a split between resurfacing and all the other types of projects that I think is responsible. I think it provides us with a nice balance between our immediate needs and our preservation needs. It actually helps us either sustain or improve our system a little bit, and I think that we can responsibly staff those programs, those projects at 30 million and see success. So we were given that budget. It's a budget that we can rely on this year, next year, and in the years to come. The Preventive Maintenance Alliance. This is our tagline. We are a statewide partnership of transportation engineers that engage in a thoughtful process, our leadership loves that term, to select preventive maintenance projects, monitor project performance, improve our pavement network conditions, and reduce maintenance needs. So our tagline is that we seek to ensure that no transportation dollar is more carefully spent. And I really believe that's true. We do a lot of things in the organization, try new things all the time. This is an organization that works hard to try those new things because, as our local Debbie Downer Mark pointed out yesterday, this program will never be easy. There are always problems, there are always obstacles, but we really do the research, we do the work, and we carefully spend all that money. I know my audience, and I know that maintenance engineers love puppies. Well, that actually landed. It never does. Usually I just do this to get myself through it. But so there's lots of puppy pictures for you. So our goals that we developed early on are that we maintain data-driven process, we ensure quality applications throughout the state, we track project performance, we increase our treatment options, and we guide research. Those are the goals that we agreed on between central office and the district when we started our organization. And those are still our goals today. And these are the expectations. So if you're in central office, You're good at guiding programs. You're good at looking at the money and trying to protect that budget. My job a lot is to shield everybody outstate from the politics so that they can do the work. That's our role. And really all I did was recognize that central office sucks at some things. So central office, we provide the districts with project selection training. We provide them with application training. We perform formal pavement evaluations, maintain the pavement data, and try to give them continuous candidate lists. We analyze our project performance throughout the state. I'll talk a little bit about that. And then, if necessary, we perform final project selection. And just what that means is if we're having a disagreement over what the treatment should be, if we don't think the condition is there for a successful candidate, we have the final say as to whether or not it should be a chip seal or a microsurface, something like that. The district expectations, they submit to us the projects for the preventive maintenance treatments. They attend all of our project selection and application training. That is mandatory. You do not have funding available to you if you do not attend our training. You have qualified personnel on site during those applications. You attend our annual meeting. That is also mandatory. You will not get funding if you do not attend our annual meeting. And then you provide contractor and project reviews for all those projects during the annual meeting. Those are really important for us. Program is data-driven. We talked a little bit about our project selection yesterday, so I'll just kind of quickly review it. I think it's not unique to what people are doing. We have our pavement management system spit out a list of candidates. We send those out to the districts in the spring. They look them over. They send us what they'd like to see. They can send us nothing if they don't really want to go after those treatments. They can send us all microsurface. They can send us all chip seal, and a mix is usually what we see. But it's really up to them what they seek and where they seek it, because they know the local conditions. They know when we're in pavement management and we look at a project, we think, oh, this is the perfect pavement, but it's in a state park next to a boat landing. There's going to be all kinds of weird traffic there. We don't see that through the data. The district knows. So the district looks at those types of things, sends the project back to us. When we get the projects back to us, we then go out and check all of those projects and do another pavement evaluation on them. So we put eyes on every single section. This is not a sustainable model. We are learning that. This program is constantly in flux and constantly changing. Last year, we had several districts just send us every single candidate right back. And that's fine. That's great, and we will learn and we will adjust. So the reason that we are looking at it right now is because our decision tree is really new, and we really want to validate that decision tree by putting eyes on the pavement a second time. What we really work on is improving performance of our projects. I'm going to talk about this a little bit. I'm going to start with our annual meeting. So everyone's required to attend an annual meeting. What do we do during the annual meeting? It's very similar to the format that we have here, except for it's at a state park. There are mice inside our lodgings, usually, and there's grilling at night. But we bring in agencies from other states. We've brought in Missouri, Indiana, Tennessee, and we have them, West Virginia, we talk about the good and the bad. So I'd like them to see examples of successful programs, but I also like them to see that other states are struggling too and face a lot of the same issues they do. So there's benefits to having all levels of experience come in. We bring in our partners in research. So NCAT has been out a couple times. Greg has been out, Duncan, to the meeting. Go over what we're doing in research. We also bring in industry. We have people come in to talk about new types of treatments or equipment or things like that. And it's just a real good way to push all of that knowledge down to a different level. We have sent a bunch of people here. This wasn't always the case, so it's always been difficult to get that knowledge out to the districts. At the annual meeting, we do all kinds of things. Besides that, we have a business meeting, essentially. So during the business meeting, we discuss anything that impacts the program, because it's their program, it's not my program. So we talk about adding treatments, we talk about deleting treatments. We've developed funding formulas for how that money needs to get distributed across the state. Just anything that could potentially impact the program, we discuss together. Say, hypothetically, Greg one of our pavement engineers, might have an idea to take funding from the program or perhaps make a decision about how proposals should be built. Greg, do you think you could just Broder, could you just come to my office in central office and propose this? Would I say yes or no? No. So hypothetically, this has never happened. If he did that, I would say, no, we cannot make decisions in central office. The decision has to be made at the annual meeting because this is not my program. This is their program. This is their money. So those are the types of things we do. The other important thing we do at the annual meeting is we do a review of all of the work we did the previous year. Every district stands up and talks about their projects. They talk about what went right, and they also talk about what went wrong. And this helps on a lot of different levels. One, it helps us develop our action items for the next year. So where are our problems that are consistent throughout the districts? And those have ranged wildly from last year, 2 years ago, we clearly had problems with inspections. So we needed to develop a process to train our inspectors more thoroughly. This past year, our problems are really more with crack seal. So we've tried to develop some methodology for crack sealing and provide more training. From those project reviews, we take a list of items that are there for management to work on. So for me, we take a list of items that are technical in nature and they get passed to a specification subcommittee. Our subcommittee is also composed of people from the districts, and they take these very detailed items and they work on them outside of the meeting. They work on specifications and the way we structure our bid proposals. The other thing that lets us do is if there's a problem with the project, I'm aware of it. Our asphalt industry likes to take pictures, little isolated pictures, and bring them up to management. I'm sure they do it in a lot of states. But I know where the problems are, and I know what happened and what we've identified to be the problem and what our action plan is for it, because this is what we do in our meetings. The other thing that it helps out with is because they talk about what they've worked on, I also talk about what I've worked on. So I'll let them know, hey, I wrote a white paper to be distributed to the legislature, or I had to go meet with the governor's chief of staff to talk about our program and our needs, and everything went well, but here's where we are. So I update them on my work, and they update me on their work. So we all understand where each other is and the things we're doing to make the program a success. One of the other major things we do out of the annual meeting is we come up with our topics for spring training. Every year we hold a spring training. We get about 200 people every year at our spring training. We invite everyone from the state. We invite local government agencies to attend, and we also invite industry to attend. The topic for our spring training is determined usually coming out of the annual meeting where our needs are. So another example of that is when we did spring training or our annual meeting, we had a large inspector need. So we really decided to do inspector cross-training. Our districts went out to other districts, made each other aware of when projects were going on. So they crossed those district lines, went over and helped people. We had Paris from District 6. Paris, wave your hand. So Paris actually helped us out a lot last year, and she went to a lot of our projects and just tried to help train some of our newer inspectors or some of our less knowledgeable inspectors on these trains. The difference was night and day. 2 years ago, when I went out and looked at a Cape Seal going out, the trucks were starting and stopping, trying to get set up. There were problems across the board. This year, when I went out after a full year of doing that intensive training, it was unbelievable how fast they started to get up and get moving right away. And the quality of our Cape Seals and our chip seals as a result, it changed dramatically over the course of 1 year. So I can't speak enough to that. All of the people that are here today have faced a lot of challenges in their program, but yet they are still with us here today. And I think we have District 4, they were fortunate enough to train our first asphalt contractor who bought a microsurface machine. District 6, Kevin Rust has been a major promoter for our program. He has been willing to try anything. I think I told upper management once, if I told Kevin that I could grind up ho-hos and maybe improve his pavement performance, he would probably do it, and he might do it on the interstate. And of course, Paris comes from District 6. She's added a lot to our inspection program and helped train our contractors as well. District 7, they did one of our first night jobs with a microsurface on an area off a ramp from the interstate that was between truck stops. So it had a lot of high truck traffic. They were willing to give that a try. They also had a Cape Seal awarded last year to a contractor who was kind enough to take a full-page ad out in the newspaper, passively aggressively encouraging people to complain about the job, I think is the kindest way to say it. And we worked through it together, and they're here today. District 9 has been doing pavement preservation for years. They recently put the first scrub seal over the top of a microsurface, and when leadership asked me, can you do that? I said, well, I don't know, but what do we know more than them? So let's just give it a try, and we did. District 11 has proposed research projects. David Hager, who comes from District 11, works a lot with our aggregate suppliers and our material suppliers to improve this project. And District 12 is here as well. They experienced one of our biggest high-profile failures. They came back on board with us, and we are working to improve those jobs and working with them. My point in saying all of that is that we have experienced challenges, and we have experienced situations, but all of those risks are out at the district level, and all of the knowledge is out there as well. So we are lucky enough to have the organization that keeps bringing them back to the table. This is just a little example of the kinds of data we pull in central office. This is all of our projects graphed by ADT, so number of projects. What we're hoping to do is get enough projects to be able to segment them by precondition data and then by ADT to try and track that performance. This is just like most of our projects are still very young. There's not a lot of data coming in, and we started out by looking at return to cracking percentage by year. Again, we don't have enough projects, and they aren't split by ADT or precondition data yet. We do a lot of partnership and research. Of course, we are partners with NCAT and Minroad. We have a lot of people here today. We have a lot of people that work on the technical working groups. We do local agency outreach, and we do have a high-volume test site for SHRP2 R26. The most important point to make here is that we do this as a group. We have sent people from the districts to Everyday Counts summits. We have people participating on ASHTO subcommittees. We have brought them to the conference today. I made a whole list, and there's more. I can't remember it offhand, but we send people to NCAT. We've sent them to Minroad. When we get these opportunities that are traditionally from the central office staff, the programmatic staff, we try to make sure that we are including the district staff as well, so that they have that knowledge and those connections as well. I just want to talk a little bit about our high volume research site. This is something that I think helps us with the program. It's an area where anyone can go in the state to look at these treatments if they don't know what they look like, and it's an area that helps us look at what the condition of those treatments are, because it all had the same precondition distress level. So we took our project money and we just put down like a cheap NCAT on a US 127 route in Kentucky. We did a thin lay, a double micro, a Cape Seal, a single micro, and then we have an adjacent thin asphalt overlay. And I'm just gonna pop up a couple graphs. So we take skid on all of those sections every year. We do permeability tests on all of those sections every year. We are seeing a lot of differences in texture between our micro products and our asphalt products, so we are looking more at permeability and surface as a benefit rather than just return to cracking. This is our cracking total. So this is our control section. We built these in 2014. This is our crack seal only section, our single micro, our thin lay, our double micro, and our Cape Seal. These sections are still really young. We're not seeing a lot of cracking on any of these sections by any means. I think we're at least 4 years out from any sort of treatment on them. We do rutting. Rutting is pretty consistent. The only difference is on the double micro, we are picking up the lap on the joint as almost a false reading. IRI is consistent throughout. We didn't see any benefit from one treatment over the other. And then mean texture depth. I don't really know what we're doing with mean texture depth yet. Greg is completely the expert on that. We're just trying to figure it out. Are we done working on our program? No. Every year there's lots of challenges. So we just keep going. We are looking at in-house equipment right now for crack seal and for chip sealing. We don't know exactly how that's gonna look, but we're getting the equipment and we're gonna figure it out. Our program is always growing and changing. We have to restructure these meetings. We have to restructure the project submittal as the program changes every year. And the other thing that we're really working on is when we started out, we had pavement resurfacing and we had preventive maintenance. And they had to be kind of separated because of the politics involved in it. But I think we've come far enough along right now that we can start incorporating them into one holistic pavement preservation program. We're working on opening up the formula that allocates resurfacing funds. This year we opened it up, and now your preventive maintenance work, your preservation work is part of that funding. So we are trying to carrot it. We're trying to allow a less prescribed, I guess, split between where resurfacing is and where your money for spending on thin lays and microsurface are. I'm just going to close with one graph. There's a lot of real risk to this program, and the risks are borne usually at the district level. But there are a lot of benefits to the program. Every year in pavement management, I take all our data at the end of the year, and I look at where our condition is. And then I look at what our liability is. So by liability, it just means all of the work that needs to be done today. If we were going to fix all of the pavements that are in poor condition this year, how much money would we need? In 2016, that's the red hatched one, our liability in 2018, using the types of projects we were doing then, at the funding splits we were doing then, would be around $1.2 billion. And I reran the liability at the end of 2018, and we are now down below $1 billion. In 2016, our liability would have grown to over $1.5 billion by 2022. But today, because of our preservation program, we are going to hold it at around $1 billion. We're not spending more money, we're spending less money. But the money we're spending has been split more. We are doing less structural and rehab type projects and more preservation and preventive maintenance projects. And that is helping us hold this liability at $1 billion while spending less money. The other thing that it helps us do is trade that money. So for about 5 years, maybe more, I think, our district saw a drought of rehab projects off the interstate and parkway pavements. We just didn't have any money to fix those pavements that had drainage problems that really needed to be dug up. So nothing ever got done. We just resurfaced them again and again and let them maintain it. Today, because we are able to hold our system conditions, I can take some of that money, and I think everyone here probably has a rehab project coming this year because we are able to spend that money that we would have otherwise spent on resurfacing and those higher dollar projects. Because we're doing more preventive maintenance, we're able to afford some of those more expensive projects. So there is a real benefit to the risks that they see. Does anybody have any questions?
Money right now?
No. There's never enough money.
Comment rather than a question, Tracy. I think this is a great slide to end on. You said you were going to make your point at the beginning, but I think this is a really important point that I think many agencies are like Kentucky in that they have a large volume of pavements that they don't have funds to take care of. And I think you've demonstrated one of the big benefits of preservation is either holding that line or reducing it. It's not going to take care of the pavements that need reconstruction. And there's a real threat of doing preservation on those roads and expecting good benefits. But by taking care of what's in good condition, just the very fundamental philosophy of pavement preservation, you're demonstrating that this works to the extent, whatever budget you have, you're making it work. And I think that's to be applauded. Thank you.
Okay, so I think this is such an amazing story, and that's one of the reasons that that it ended up on the agenda is what Kentucky's doing is truly very amazing. And I know you guys really enjoy working with her because she's such a fantastic leader. But again, what a great tribute here that all these folks are involved at this level and able to still participate. Thank you very much, Tracy.
Thank you.
The preceding was produced by the National Center for Pavement Preservation. More information can be found on the web at pavementpreservation.org. Additional support provided by Michigan State University.